into the Edenton Town Council regularly scheduled committee meeting session. And coupled with that, we're going to open with a special meeting to finish up some business that we were dealing with last time we met. In addition to that, we're going to have some quotes and conversation presented to us by our insurance broker group, the Soaring Company. Mr. Ed Williams and Lynn Goodman are here tonight to bring us up to speed as to where we are, what's out there in the competitive market that we might want to take a look at, and to answer questions, of course, that any of you might have about our existing policy and what else is going to be presented in his comments to us tonight. So Ed, if you would please, sir, we'd be happy to hear from you.
Okay. Thank you. And glad to be back. I missed a year last year. Rand's out of town, and I was telling Lynn on the way up here, he didn't mind asking his mom and I to keep 2 kids under 2 for a week. But he didn't ask my input on the spreadsheet. So there are a few mathematical errors, nothing that would change the outcome, but we noticed a couple of dollars here and there. But just to go over the small dollars, if you will, the life insurance, the current life with Sun Life, we're going to need to move that. They wanted to go up 36%. But the good news is we can move that to Guardian, who's an excellent carrier in the same league with Sun, and keep the same rates we have now, so we can avoid that increase. We also will move the voluntary life with them, and that'll stay the same as well. So that's an easy move. Not much heartburn there. And then on the ancillary, again, these are mostly employee paid. The one that's not is the dental, and we're moving that to Guardian as well. No, we're leaving the Sun Life, the dental with Sun Life. That's not Rand's mistake, that's mine. And then so that takes care of those. Then the other ancillaries, the short-term disability, the accident, the cancer, critical illness, those will all stay with Sun Life with the 0 rate change. So that's the easy stuff. Now the harder things, of course, are the major medical. First Health came back and started off requesting a 6% increase, which of course tells us we had a much better claims year than we've had in the past, if you remember those rate increases. So that was good. Of course, we fussed at them and told them that wasn't good, and they had to do better, and we were able to get them to go from 6 to 0. So in other words, the rates would be the same if we stayed with them for another year, and the benefits would remain the same. So we felt pretty good about that, but we went to the marketplace to see what everybody else would do, and we went to Blue Cross and United, and of course Anne Marie, the league, was asking to have another shot. So that last column is the municipal trust, and they obviously want you back, but it appears that United Healthcare wants you more than anybody. They quoted, they're in the second column there, benefits are almost identical. There's a couple of little changes, like on the drugs, instead of $8, it's 10, and tier 3 goes from 55 to 60. But the big numbers, the deductibles, the out-of-pocket max actually went down for the family in that first column there. but basically the exact same coverage we have now. And with a considerable amount of savings for the town, approximately 30%, or about $210,000, which is no small number. We're used to seeing those numbers, but they usually go the other way for the insurance company, so it's nice to see them go our way. That is partly a reason is they would really like to have the business because they don't have any municipalities down east anyway, and they've been for the last few years trying to break into the eastern North Carolina market, and Blue Cross has owned that forever and ever, and so they've had a tough time doing that, but they've obviously would love to have your business, and you know, they're a good carrier. They're basically one of the only ones left. They're a national carrier. What they have been able to do and what they haven't been able to do till recently is get a presence down east with the doctors and the hospitals, and that was what was really stopping them. They have signed a deal with the East Carolina, the Vidant Doctors Group, which is at 200 and some, 1,600 physicians, and that's just happened. So we couldn't, we're trying to find out, because this is part of the due diligence. We're saying that Anne Marie, we want to get the rest of the story, is exactly when that's going to go into effect. And it may be August instead of July. So, I mean, it still may not affect, depends on who goes to who and when, you know, and what doctor, but they've done very well in Virginia, in the Virginia Beach area, and up there I know we have people that use doctors and hospitals up there. They say, and again, we haven't really checked it, but they basically have all the hospitals that you could go to up there and most of the doctors. What we've gotten from First Carolina is an actual claims listing of the claims, the types, and the providers. And we tried to get the details to match that up with United. And United said, well, no, we need zip codes and billing codes, which we've got to go back to them and get. We can get that, we think. And they didn't ask for it, and we didn't know they needed it. And then they turned around and gave us the list that wasn't quite accurate. But again, they say we'll be fine, and they're, you know, happy with what they've been able to get done. So I don't think they're telling a story there. I think we would probably have much better coverage than in the past, with both doctors and hospitals. And of course, when you get over Raleigh and all, I mean, United's been good there for a long time, so that's not a problem. Blue Cross is not a bad quote at all. They almost exactly the same benefits, and they were going to come in about even with First Health. So, you know, and Blue Cross has a better network already. They have hospitals, doctors, and so forth. The problem with their quote is where the dollars fall as far as the employees' money versus the town's money. And we've talked to them about that, and they're, at least thus far, not willing to move those dollars around for us to make it fairer for the employees and not have the town saving all the money and them getting an increase. And having said that, we've talked to United because we have a similar problem there. It's not as big, but in certain categories it is. They will work with us a little bit. We don't know how much, so we're trying to get an answer from them. And it would be basically the town would say, well, unless, instead of the town saving $210,000, we'll save whatever the number is, 190, and we'll take that 20 and try to spread it to even things out so that we don't have to go to the employees and say, well, we got another 20% rate increase this year or whatever. You know, we can spread that out, and the town would still save 190, and those are just right out of the air. That, you know, you may go a lot different way on that, but that will be up to us, and we're trying to get the parameters from United as well, just how much leeway they'll give us. They'll probably come back and say, well, here's the best we can do, and they'll try to spread it evenly in the categories. And then if we say, well, the town wants to save a little more than that, then we move a few dollars around, but at least we'll know the kind of the bottom line. And I'm sorry we don't have that tonight, but we hope to have it very soon. And then the municipality trust is a good quote as well. They're almost exactly where First Health is. I guess the biggest problem is they have a $1,500 deductible versus the $1,000. $1,000 is still very good these days. It's as hard as it is for me to say that as long as I've been doing this, but all of a sudden $1,000 is probably a little on the rich side as far as what other groups have, no matter if you're down east or Raleigh or wherever. In Raleigh we see $1,500 and $2,000, $2,500 all the time now because of the ridiculous numbers. So that's not the end of the world, but it's not as good as the other ones, so I would not lean towards that. And of course, selfishly, we don't sell that, but I think the difference in benefits is bad, and then there's certainly more money to save on the other ones. Be glad to answer any questions, and as I say, the difference in these numbers is very small. I mean, it might be you know, 0.01 or something, but if you do the math and say, wait a minute, that's wrong, we know it, we're going to get it, we'll get it straightened out and get it back to Anne Marie as quick as we can.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
With the United Healthcare, have you done any vetting on their annual increase history on premiums? I mean, if this is just luring in for 1 year and then they get it all back the next, I'm sure there's probably no assurance that that wouldn't occur, but...
And they don't have a history of buying business any more than Blue Cross does. Okay. Or First Health for that matter. You know, First Health, when they got our business, gave us a very aggressive quote, and they were lucky enough that we had a very good year, and we were lucky. So it's been great, you know, from that standpoint. But there's no real rhyme or reason on it when we go out with a case to quote it. I mean, they all use the exact same factors, you know, location, ages, sex, dependent, how many dependents, and they all have different formulas, but then they get to that number, and whoever's on the desk at Blue Cross or United says, well, this looks like a good case, discount it 10% or whatever. And you know, I say, well, the manual says it's supposed to be this, and they go, no, we want this one. And we, you know, they don't put out a sign say we're buying business, but we kind of can see when they're aggressive, and they look at such a huge block that, you know, when they say we're going to get these 50 cases in eastern North Carolina or whatever it might be, it's small enough where it just kind of goes into the pie, and nobody's going to lose their job if they guess wrong on the town or a case in Raleigh or whatever, because it's just such big numbers. So I guess I hope that answers. I mean, they're not trying to buy this particular case. They just thought the demographics looked good. And to be honest with you, they want some business. You know, they're still pushing to get Blue Cross out of their, you know, stronghold in the east, North Carolina. So they want as many cases as they can get. and this is a good size for them, and it's, they think it's a good risk. And they won't treat us any better or any worse if we have an awful claims year. Because then it goes to somebody else's desk, and he says, well, we took in $700,000 in premium, and we paid out $1.2 million in claims. We got to give them a rate increase. Then we do this whole thing again, and we might have, Blue Cross might think, well, golly, they had their bad year. We're going to come in and offer them whatever. So it's like a old colleague of mine said. He said, we think this stuff is scientific, but it's not quite as scientific as we'd like it to be. I think it's good too, because of this. We can get a quote that's going to save us this much money, and I wish we could take more credit for it, but we take credit for the hard work, but they came up with the number. And it's like, so we tell them, that's a good number, you did a good job, and then we tell First Health, y'all aren't doing very good.
Yeah.
So it also depends on who we're talking to. But, and again, that, as I say, that part of that aggressiveness is they're real excited about the deal they've cut with the doctors and hospitals that they've just acquired. Because what that means is they've gotten East Carolina or Greenville to say, we'll accept this dollar instead of this dollar, you've been paying us. Or, excuse me, we'll accept this dollar instead of this $1.50 you've been paying us. So they've cut a deal to save themselves money, and then can save their clients money if it all works out on the back end. So that's why they can be aggressive, and they don't have the database to say if they're making a bad bet or not. So they want to get all these cases on the business and see how it shakes out, on the books, and see how it shakes out. But they have finally done a good job. I don't know when it's been years that they've been trying to crack anything, east of Raleigh, and it's been hard on them. And I will tell you that, and that's why we want to make sure on these employees where the network is, so we can be on the good side, not just cover half of them, but be on the really good side of that, because they are a little ornery to deal with sometimes. They're just a little, I don't know what the word would be. They're not from North Carolina, for one thing. So they can be a little pickier on a claim or something like that. The doctors have had that same issue, and a lot of the doctors get mad about how they get reimbursed, and so, they have not had great things to say about them in some cases, but again, now the doctors have to go along because it's only Blue Cross and United, pretty much. Aetna's even further behind as far as North Carolina goes, so those are really the big three. And First Carolina is much, much smaller, but great company, and we're glad they're doing well because they give us a good option. But we're going to try to get that information vetted on our particular people and all the claims they had this past year with the particular doctors, so they can say, we have that doctor, we have, and see how that covers our folks.
Pardon me for looking at my phone, Mike.
No.
I'm not picking this up, but, and you might have said this in your presentation while I was squinting at these numbers, pardon me, please, but have you sold a lot of United in the past?
We have, but not east of Raleigh. We've got a fair amount of United business in Raleigh and west, Greensboro and Charlotte, and But we hear that same, like the things I'm saying about United, we've heard those arguments all along. So if it just personally, if it came down to a tie between Blue Cross and United, I'd probably ride it with Blue Cross. Just think they'd be happier.
And I might have missed it on this, and help me if I did, the retirees.
Yeah.
They're,
I believe they're priced at the same rate. There's no differential
even with United.
with United. We'll verify that. but
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
pretty
double
sure
check,
that's-
but-
yeah.
and Rand, do you know Rand off the top?
I'm 99% sure they are, but I'll double check.
I mean, I know Rand's aware of them, and I'm sure he made sure of that, or we'd had a footnote somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I remember
we'll
last year, well, excuse me, previous years, we had a tough time with that. And last
Right.
year, with First Health, they did that for us. So I just wanted to make sure we're
That's a
all
good
singing
question.
out the same hymn. but
That's a
it's-
good question, we'll double check it. I hope he wouldn't have sent me down here without,
There'll be different rates on the sheet.
yeah, I think there'd be a different category on here.
But I didn't see it for either, and that was the reason I asked, because I didn't see it for the league or Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Right.
And both of them, when we had them, sorry, I don't need to talk to this guy either. There was always
Separate,
separate, and they aren't showing it here on,
and I don't know, it could be that he didn't share it with them, or it could be that they all gave up because we had fewer than we used to. I don't know if that's even the case.
okay.
What my memory was that the league, when they were trying to get us to join the pool 4 or 5 years ago, that they redid the rates based on actual projected costs, and the retiree cost was higher, and so they
Right.
set a rate that was higher, and that was very unusual. But we'll verify that. it'll all be
And Blue Cross has gone to that too now, where I work.
Okay.
There's a difference, major difference.
Unusual today is different than unusual was 4
Well,
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
now-
changes by the month.
Now they're competing with the government, so
Yeah.
Because we don't like to see anybody retire.
I understand. Did I leave anything out?
Anybody
Anything?
else have any questions or comments you'd like to make relative to what we're hearing about our insurance? What's the premium renewal date?
July.
July.
July 1. And as I say, we're hoping if they cooperate, we can have this by the end of the week, the United information. That's Lynn, she's promising that, not me. No, I think we can.
We're
Do you
working on
ever
getting
see-
it as quickly as we can.
Do you ever see the state opening back up the state health plan and us falling into that by chance, or is that?
You know,
I mean, I know they only accept X amount of members or X amount
Yeah,
of
and-
participants.
I don't know, I wouldn't
count on it.
Yeah, just wouldn't think, I mean, it's not like the state's got a lot of, they're having great experience and a lot of extra money and want some more bodies.
I mean, I realized they opened it last year, that's why I was wondering if they
Yeah.
would open it again. because
Well, and
they just opened it.
I'd bet some of my own money that didn't work out great from the bottom line. I mean, it's the old thing, you get more, large numbers, large numbers, but that works the other way too. They can have large claims. So I don't really, since I can't sell the state employees anything, I don't really follow it like I should probably.
Right. Well, I mean, I didn't know if it would open back up and be a benefit to the town, a less amount of rate.
Yeah, and I do need, just because you're really the only municipality we have, but I'm sure I can get the rates of the state's rates. I know once in a while I'll talk to retirees or people that are coming off the state plan, and they're not bragging about, they don't mind going on Medicare and whatnot because they've been paying, what they think is a lot. Sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong, but
Right.
I don't think anything great's happening there. But I don't know if I can get it that quick, but I'll share that with you if I can get it.
Well, their renewal date is January, so I didn't.
And I can find out, maybe see what the current rates
Run into
are.
it.
Yeah, what the current rates are and compare them to ours. see how that
Do you
looks.
think you'll have a recommendation for us once you get this other information that you're attempting to get?
Well, and it's yes and no. I mean, it's hard for me to recommend turning the town's back on the savings if we can get it closer as far as taking care of the employees. I think there's enough money there to do that and make everybody happy. On the other hand, I like First Carolina Care. They've treated us good. I think people have been very happy with them. They do a good job. They did a good job on the renewal. We don't see many zero renewals these days.
No.
And we did have a good year, but the same year, we could have gotten plus 10 from any of these other folks. So I think they did a good job. It just doesn't look good next to the United quote.
Yeah.
But that's always a case, on an incumbent versus a suitor. And the suitor's trying to get your attention and get your business, and the incumbent's looking at all the numbers. He knows who's got what, who's got cancer, what happened, and so on. And, so they have a little better information. So you see that, and you don't usually see it as big as this. That's kind of, and I guess my recommendation probably will be United, because as I say, we can take all that money and hopefully make everybody happy, and except Anne Marie and Tammy. But we'll.
Tammy's always happy.
Yeah, we will. That's our job, is keep them happy. So,
But you bring up a good point, though, and we've got a lot of employees in here tonight. And just by a shake of the head, has it been good insurance, what you've had for the last year? Don't be shy.
Everybody's not yes.
I'll see a few maybe. Okay. They want to put them on the spot, but you don't know if you don't ask.
That's right, that's right. And when it comes to healthcare, I don't think you'll ever get all nods or all nays, but they do a good job. But it's so personal, it just depends on where you go, what time you get there, who's off that week, or, there's so many things that go into it these days. But we appreciate your business and want to keep it, and we're excited. Like I say, I can't take so much credit or even Rand, but it's fun to come back with these kind of options instead of being up against the wall like when we started and staring down those huge numbers. So that's a good thing.
Very good. Well, we thank you, sir, and look forward to getting
We'll get that as quick as we
bits and pieces, so we'll be
Yep,
able
as quick as we can.
do whatever we're gonna do.
Okay,
Anybody else? We good?
thank y'all.
Can I just
Thank you.
mention one quick thing, Mayor? One of the councilmen had asked, and has asked in the past, about council members being able to purchase insurance through the plan. And years ago, the league used to allow that, and then they stopped doing it. And so we are going to ask United if they would do it. We asked First Health last year, and they would not do it. But if anybody else would be interested in purchasing, let us know so that we can share. We don't know that United will allow it, but we're going to ask.
And I actually did have one more question I forgot to ask.
Sure.
Is there an option for the employees to get a lower, or excuse me, I guess it would be a higher percentage of co-insurance? Like, I think this
Like a
was,
dual option?
well, this one was like 70% if I'm right.
You mean have two plans, 80% and 70?
Yeah.
We can ask, and they would probably do it.
And don't get me wrong, I would
Right.
recommend if they wanted 80%,
Yeah.
they could pay for it. I mean,
Yeah, it'd be a higher rate.
since you based this on
Yeah.
the 70.
There'll be a higher one and a lower one if they'll do it. But we're certainly large enough to have that. And I guess it's going to come down to their internal feeling about the admin on that, whatever load they put on having a dual option.
Right.
And they can probably, I'm gonna guess the answer will be yes, and then they just plug it in to the parameters here, and of course, they don't know who's gonna take what, but they have a formula, they could probably guess how many might take it, and of course, it depends on the numbers, obviously, and we don't wanna underprice it, let everybody have 10% more benefit and not pay a proportionate premium.
Right.
So,
Well, the only reason I asked that question was I've seen in the past where I worked that, if you quit smoking, or you couldn't even have it if you smoked, but if you did certain things, you could get it, and the more you did to keep yourself healthy, the more the premium was adjusted lower. So it might be an interest for our employees.
I just wanted to clarify, you're asking if you could maybe have a dual option with the benefits the same, except the co-insurance be 80%?
Exactly.
Okay. I'm sure we can do that.
and I'll let the wellness out.
Okay.
And it's my fault. The United has a little different kind of wellness program, and it's always been the carrot or the stick. If we, like you're saying, if you quit smoking, we'll give you a lower rate, or we'll give you a better benefit. And some folks just aren't going to quit smoking, and so you never could get the work, the benefit out of it you wanted. And what United has done is they have a program that basically goes by BMI, body mass index.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no I promise to go see the doctor, or I do this or I do that. You just get your number, and if your number is a certain amount, which is going to show maybe you should do some things. Again,
23 or greater.
I'd say it's too bad I don't know what mine is. You could just say, well, if you're his size, you need help. But so I don't know what the number, what 23 or greater, but that doesn't mean anything to me. But anyway, the good thing is you don't have to do anything, like you're saying, unless you want to. And there are some great benefits with it, and we can leave you one of those. But it's physicals, and you get you get a blender. They'll send a blender to your house, and with recipes on things you could make, smoothies, healthy smoothies, daiquiris.
I think we ought to renegotiate.
But the nice thing is this, it's designed, of course, to lower claims. They're not going to charge not going to change anybody's rates, and hopefully it'll help our rates go down in the future.
Right.
But it's a good idea, because these other programs it's hard to get anybody to show you a return on your investment when you make your people fill out stuff, or you make them go to the doctor, or you make them get a physical once a year. It's just hard to do that with people. They're going to do pretty much what they want to, and some of us are going to eat more than we should, no matter what we know. And so that's a good, we'll leave you a couple of, or give everybody one. Yeah, the brochure. And we'll check on the dual option, but I suspect that won't be hard. Like I said, the problem will be, we'll have the same problem with them. If we're going to rearrange some of our dollars, we'll have to decide, because we don't want to give away too much of the quote savings.
Sure.
But
Ed, I know you touched on this a few minutes ago, and I was involved in this, and I missed part of what you said. But I was in the insurance industry for 45 years, and I've seen too many companies buy business. You know what I mean by buy
Sure,
business?
yes.
And this company that's so much cheaper, is that what they're doing, is buying the business, and then next year they're going to come back and increase it?
no, I mean, we all use that term in the industry as buying the business, but I think the fact of the matter is, on their side, and not that I'm standing up for the insurance industry, but on their side, they're trying to get good business, and they've got numbers and predictions and data, on what good business is and what should we charge and how can we make a profit. But then there comes the sales manager or whoever's in charge, and then there's a national guy, and they get a memo from the head guy that says, folks, we got to write 20% more business this month. And do what you got to do that, but don't buy it. Get us good cases. So it's one of those. And as long as the guy's not going to lose his job, then he'll say, well, this looks like a good one. Give him that rate. And then of course it all shakes out. You find out some of them you win, some of them you lose. But United's not known for that by any means. If I had to say, I'd probably say Blue Cross is more guilty than United of that, or being a little out of whack on, but not every case and not by much. Probably just a little more, or maybe a little bit on a bigger case like this, we can sweet talk them or whatever and whine and beg and get them to come off, whereas United just says, no, that's it. That's it. So. And if that's kind of just so we all know is that'll probably be the case if we have a horrible year and they get hammered, they'll send me a 24% or whatever it is, and I'll call them back and say, well, you're going to lose this, and they say, that's all right. There won't be much back and forth with, but I hope that helps. I don't know. But
Well, bottom line, it's a significant savings with them.
Well, and I guess what I'd say is not just with y'all, but with any of our cases is if you can save that much money and you can make it work, make the employees happy and the town happy.
It's a little bit to work with.
Well, they can't get it back. Nobody knows who's going to quote what next year, but we know nobody's going to get that 200 grand back. So
That's right.
The city has it and the people have it in their pockets for premiums, and so, if it was $10,000, then we might want to stay right where we are. But, because there's a cost to moving, and with employees, there's a cost to aggravation and signing up, and doctors maybe not being in networks, and there's a admin cost for everybody here. But that's a bunch of money.
I can't figure too well, but I was just figuring it's about 5 cents on our tax, Avalon tax, so
Okay. Well, that's
a huge savings.
well, we appreciate the time, and we'll get this stuff. We're sort of at their mercy, but we're going to be on them and get it back as quick as we can, so y'all can. But I guess in the meantime, it's sort of how do we spread this around and make everybody happy, or not spread it around. But I don't think that'll be the situation. We're gonna get out of your way then for the rest of the meeting.
All right, thank you very
y'all.
much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
moving right along. We have 2 more items to cover in our special meeting before we move to our regular committee meeting agenda. We tabled 2 discussions for text amendments to our development ordinance at our last meeting to this date. Because if we don't do it now, then we'll, August? Is that next month we can amend it? Or is it later than that?
If we started over,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So we're going to pick up case TA 1703, which has to do with gaming operations. This was tabled because the town council was of the opinion that we should push a little harder and try not to allow the gaming operations to be established in the town of Edenton, but unfortunately, or depending upon your point of view, The state Supreme Court has already spoken, and we cannot not do this. So we either put in some measures in our ordinance to create some control, or the main risk is that you lose your ability to tell the game operators where they can locate their business in the community. So we can regulate that with the ordinance change, or we can leave it wide open and they can go wherever they want, but we cannot do nothing. What, is that a double negative? Anyway, that's where we are. So I know y'all all read what Hood had to say, our town attorney, and he was very clear, I thought, and brief, that you can't do it. So the proposed text amendments, Emery, if you would address the changes that, or any tweaks that Hood may have made since we decided to table this from the last meeting, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Mayor, the town attorney said that it was problematic to set a minimum age limit in the proposed ordinance. And then he also, he said that it may be arbitrary, that, anyway, he thought that was going to raise a flag and that you should not include a age limit.
Even under 18, I noticed he said 18 to 21 in some of his comments, but so he recommends no age limit, is that right?
That's the way I read it.
That's the way I read it, but
Okay.
we can certainly go back and ask him that. His other concern was on the number of terminals. You know, the council had talked about
We said
limiting.
20.
Staff proposed 20 as a maximum number, and then the council asked, well, could we have 10 or 5? And Hood had a concern about that, and he said that any limitation should be tied to some sort of public safety concern. And so what we wanted to do was talk to some communities that had these in operation before, and try to get some information for you so that you can make a decision based on some tangible feedback, you know, real information. We don't have that for you tonight, but we could get it for you if you would give us a chance. So our recommendation is that we table it so that we can come back with some solid recommendations on number of terminals. And then that would give us a chance to ask them about limiting
Well, you may find
age.
other information also when you're talking.
And
Do you need a
also
motion
ask-
for that? For tabling it?
Yes, the mayor would need that.
But also ask him, if you don't mind, is there a limit that we can set how far that they must be from a school and must be from a church or a house of religion, however he wants to state it? You know, can we, even if we put it in commercial, can we still keep it, you know, a mile away? I mean, is that too restricted? And if that's the case, you know, where we don't have a church within a mile, we can get somebody to start one, I'm sure.
We'll ask them.
And to be sure, we got a school within a mile. A daycare or a church school or, you know, whatever. We got to find a way to stop these things from coming.
I make a motion that we table case TA 1703 relating to gaming operations until we can get further information.
Second.
Motion and a second to table. Any further discussion? I'm gonna pose a question relative to the action that we're taking. I don't have any problem with it, but I don't like running around uncovered. And we're not covered. we don't have anything in our ordinance to address it, as the court has now ruled that these operations can operate. So I think we're at risk. And I would like to think that by the next time this rolls around, having been tabled, we could make a decision. That would be my only request, because tabling it.
I agree with that.
But we're looking for some pertinent information that you all have requested here tonight. And I agree, I think we should have it. But
Mayor, would we be out of line if we asked for a moratorium on it for 60 days? I mean,
I don't know, I'm not a legal.
When is the next time that we could address this? It has to be addressed at a certain...
In June?
Well, if you table it to a specific date, you could table this to your next regular meeting.
Well, you could.
And that would keep us from having to re-advertise it.
right.
And we would work to have that information for you at the next regular meeting. If it is tabled indefinitely, the next time you can amend is August. In terms of a moratorium, Councilman, my recollection, I'll have to ask Hood, is that a resolution would have to be passed with making specific findings. So the next time you could do a resolution would be at the regular meeting, which if we don't have all of
Have a
our,
public hearing for that and everything.
I think you're right.
Sorry. Just trying to look for a way to cover it.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it is tabled till we meet again. Second item, case TA 17-02. This text amendment has to do with food vendors, and questions were raised about that relative to positioning the food trucks, trailers at certain places in the community, and distances from fire hydrants and streets and alleyways. And Emery, you want to bring us up to speed on that, please?
Yes, sir. Based on the comments that were received by the council and by speaker at the last public hearing, we have revised the proposed amendment. We highlighted the changes for you in the packet. Basically, I think the amendment as it reads now is much more user-friendly. We followed the fire code in terms of distance. Before, I think the original amendment had a provision of being at least 15 feet away from fire hydrants and access lanes and things like that. So we went just to the bare basic code requirements of 3 feet. We did away with the concern about trees. We love our trees in town, but based on the way the ordinance was written, a food truck could not be anywhere near. It wouldn't work because we have so many trees in town, so that we did away with that. And then we simplified the requirements by stating that a food truck shall not impede ingress or egress from driveway entrances, handicap parking spaces and ramps, building entrances and exits. Instead of us trying to come up with a specific distance, we said, let's just be reasonable.
I think that's good.
So
Use some common sense here. That's what
we're
you're saying.
trying,
Okay.
yes, we're trying. And tonight we have the Spivies here from Windsor. They have a food truck and they're anxious. They want to get set up so that they can operate in Edenton, and we're excited about that. And we've asked for them to review the ordinance and give us comments if we have to come back and tweak it. We also sent a copy of the ordinance to the speaker that was here at your last meeting and have not heard anything back yet. So.
Very good. Any questions or comments from the council?
I'm just glad we could accommodate what people were looking for.
All right, since we do have interested parties in the room tonight, I'll open the floor for public comment, and you're welcome to address the council if you like. All we request is you take the podium and state your name.
And we're just going to observe right now. I
Okay.
haven't had a chance to go over any of the emails yet. I think you sent it today.
Okay,
So check
good.
it out.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate your interest and wanting to be here. Anyone else would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to the proposed text amendment for the operation of food trucks? Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing, and the chair would entertain a motion to adopt the change as amended.
So moved. Second.
All right. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? All right, very good. Thank you. And that concludes our special meeting agenda.
Mayor,
something?
I do, just before you jump in on the finance committee, I apologize, I put the wrong budget amendment in the packet, so I need to, we need to redo that, and we'll present it to you. Correct. We'll present it to you at the regular.
We don't have a quorum anyhow.
Finance committee, okay,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I think you
Well,
involved.
yeah, that's
you
right. I'm
involved.
sorry.
But I apologize for that, I just caught that.
But we can put it under new business for regular meeting. It's fine.
All right. So the budget amendment relative to the airport terminal, correct,
Yes.
is what we were referring to. All right. Next committee to meet tonight will be Public Works, and that's chaired by Councilman Stallings. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 4 items on our agenda tonight. The first one is the amendment to the Code of Ordinances for the food truck regulation. So make a motion that we send that to the full council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the Code of Ordinances. Now, what did we just vote on?
What you voted on was to amend the UDO, which deals with the land use, the zoning,
Okay.
where the food trucks can operate.
Okay. All right.
And this is an amendment to the Code of Ordinance, which deals with all the rules and regulations, like fire extinguishers, health inspections,
Food inspection.
food
Oh,
inspections.
yeah, I see it,
yeah.
I see it here now. All right, good. Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the Code of Ordinances as presented. Now, we're sending that forward to the council.
Yes.
Sorry for the confusion.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the buy a bench campaign for the Elizabeth Van Moore Park. We bought some beautiful benches for downtown, and Jennifer did a great job on that. And so now we're gonna, I guess, have a campaign to raise money to buy the benches for the Elizabeth Moore Park. So I make a motion that we send that to full council.
Very good.
Committee.
Elton and...
Elton.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We just need to concur. Okay.
Okay. The next one is the yard waste debris program, and I'm gonna let Marie take that one if she will.
Okay. We mentioned to you after Hurricane Matthew that we had an interesting situation develop where FEMA required us to have a permit from the state for our yard debris site on Mexico Road, the place where the town, when Public Works collects yard waste from the residents, we take it to a site on Mexico Road. The state has always told us that we didn't need a permit for it, but they inspected it each year. So anyway, finally, the state moved heaven and earth, not finally, I mean, when we asked them, they were terrific. They came up here and they basically wrote us a permit, and that enabled us to be eligible to get our costs reimbursed by FEMA, which was terrific. Well, that state inspector then realized that, wait a minute, you need a permit, and you need to do some things at this debris site to come into compliance with the rules and regulations. So one of the things they noticed was that we had been, when people put out yard waste at the curb, we pick it all up, and sometimes people put other things beside yard waste in the yard waste pile, like wood, scrap materials, plastic bags, things like that. So we need to start a campaign, a public information campaign, to really help educate the residents on what we will pick up at the curb. And we're going to develop billing inserts, send it out with the utility bills. Hopefully Becky will work with us with the Chowan Herald. And then we're also going to do tags so that if we see a pile and it obviously has debris in it that we can't collect, we'll be able to leave a notice for the property owner to explain what they have to do so that we can collect it. So we just want you to be aware of this change. It's really going to require us to be more selective and more careful in what we pick up, because if an inspector from the state goes out there and sees new piles with stuff in it that doesn't belong out there, we're going to get in trouble.
Thank you.
Cleaner trash.
What?
Cleaner trash.
Thank you, Henry. And I also,
Trash is on.
I'm all for it.
and I also make a motion that we send this to full council as well.
Second.
Okay, the final thing we have on our agenda tonight is a proposal from the Historical Commission to construct a wharf near the Barker House on the east side of Colonial Park. The wharf would basically be a deck over the water, and it's approximately 36 by 14, and would be used to help interpret Edenton's colonial port era. And while the contractor is here that's putting down the pilings down there, they've got a quote from him, and it would be much cheaper if he were doing that while he's here rather than having to come back. So I think that's a great thing. The Historical Commission is going to pay for that, and then we will be responsible for the upkeep, as I understand it. Is that correct? Okay, thank you, Jerry. So again, I recommend that we send this to full council.
Second.
Do you have a sketch, Bob?
Yeah, I can pass that around. I've got one for everybody. Take one and pass it, and I'll keep one. There you go.
And that's all we have, Mayor.
I got a question. The liability was mentioned in our packet.
Well, I've asked Jerry Clymer with the Edenton Historical Commission to take a stab at drafting an amendment to our actual lease agreement that we have with the Edenton Historical Commission. And that lease delineates the property that the commission has at its disposal and is allowed to use. And then they also, I believe there's references in there about when the property is not being used for commission functions, it's available to the public. So we're going to ask for a draft amendment. We'll get Hood to look at it. But to answer your question, Mayor, if the commission would propose to give us the money, then we would pay the contractor. It would be ours, and any liability that would come with that would be our responsibility. That would come with us.
I was thinking more along the lines of the great demand for access to the water here for swimming and stuff like that. You know, after hours or when it's out of use, who's to prevent folks from going out there and jumping overboard and having a little swim?
Well, they could do that now. I mean, on the ledge.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's very shallow there.
Oh, yeah.
But that's something we can talk about in terms of posting
That'd be all the more
signs.
dangerous.
Yeah,
Breaking up.
yeah. we'll post, we can talk about some signs, yeah.
I don't know if people have seen the pilings that we've got in the yard over there. Pretty impressive.
It doesn't look too shallow to me, what, it's 40 feet long?
That's going to be a lot of driving.
How deep did they say they had to go with those?
40 feet.
Gotta go down
40 feet.
40 feet. Oh,
You want me to go in anyway? Same sort of piling, I guess, would be used for the,
That's for the water leaking this roof.
yeah, it is.
all right,
Uh,
very good.
That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. And that also concludes our agenda for tonight. Thank all of you for coming out and participating. Council members, we are adjourned. See you next time.
I get by.